Welcome back, Tribe Builders. This is Tanya, and I am super stoked to have this guy here today. And I know you guys hear me say that every single week because I do say it every single week. But this dude is so freaking awesome. I met him in Blake Daly's mastermind for short-term rentals, or no, sorry, boutique hotels. And this guy, like anytime he piped up, I just learned more things about the shit that he's accomplished in the last couple of years. And I officially think he's an absolute animal. And I'm excited to see the kinds of things he's going to accomplish this year. It was really fun to like hear about like how he moved the needle last year. And I think he's good at building communities. He's good at building like, the people around him. And I'm stoked to find out more. So without further ado, hi Andrew, how's it going?
What's going on? No, it's so excited to be here. I just tripped up on all my words. That was a killer introduction. Um, but no, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Tell my peeps, why you're awesome. Like, what do you got going on? What's the companies you have and stuff like that?
Oh boy. So first off, I don't get called awesome very often, and today I've been called
You
awesome
are.
twice.
Yeah.
Um, I think like a little bit of history is always good for folks. It ties in with the guest, the show, and like everything you've kind of built yourself. So I started my career as a firefighter. And that was like the fundamental time that I said, you know what I love? I love helping people, and I love like being around people that are positive, people that see the same way that I see things, see the good and everything. Um, and I said, you know what? Like, there's a lot of bad in this world, and if I can just be positive and just be optimistic and just bring positive energy to things, like that right there will kind of spread like wildfire. Um, so started my career doing that. Transition from being a firefighter to being a cybersecurity leader. During that transition was like one of the fundamental pivot points of my career, my life, because I learned that I could not transition careers on my own. Like I needed the support around me, the right people, the tribe to be able to go from point A to point B. And not knowing that point B was not like the end all be all. It was just a pivot point to get to C, to get to D, to get to E. So um, and throughout my career, like outside of real estate investing, what I've learned is that there are people that are above you that you want to strive to be. There are people below you that you want to lift up and also strive to be. There are people that are on the peer level and everything that you want to be positive around and again strive to be like them too. So like you want to surround yourselves with people that are in different parts of the journey, but that motivate you in different ways. And that's what I've done in my career. That's what I've been doing in real estate investing. That's what I hope to do with anything that kind of comes my way. So, yeah.
That's freaking awesome. I love all the things because obviously I talk about tribes all the time, so it's great. Can you tell me, fast forward to, are you still doing cybersecurity? I feel like fire department guy to cybersecurity is a really random thing. Tell me how that happened because it feels very unlikely. Unlikely.
Y- yeah, no, it is. And not, I'm one of like two people that I know that has made a transition like that. So, when I was in the fire department, I had some medical issues that came up, and I had to leave. I wasn't fit for duty, as they say. And I said, well, what do I like? What don't I like? And then I started taking on jobs that paid little to nothing to learn about different areas, and um, I eventually kind of settled on, well, that's something I can learn. But even outside of that, like my strength is leading people, leading teams. So like, how can I be a good leader and learn and lead at the same time? And I, I knew how to lead, and I knew that if I surrounded myself with the right people that understood the subject matter like area significantly better than me, that if I just am a good people leader and treat people with dignity and respect and motivate them and like keep them on a track or let them wander off to experiment with different things. Like that is like what will allow me to be successful. So um, I went down the path of just being a sponge. So again, surrounding myself with people that I knew 1,000 times more about the discipline than me, and I fell in love with it. And I still like, even though I'm a real estate investor and everything, I'm still a cybersecurity leader, like to this day, which is a balance. And when we get into like some more details later, like it's definitely ebbs and flows, highs and lows. Like it's not always awesome. Um, definitely really challenging. But again, surrounding yourself with the right people is what gets you through.
That's awesome. So you still have a full-time job in addition to the business that you're building.
Yeah, and business that I'm building, and the businesses that we also already have. Like it's I like to say that I'm a CEO in like a half dozen different businesses, and then I am the CEO of my career, like my W-2 career, and kind of in the driver's seat of that. And it's a balancing act. Like it
Hmm.
is, every day is a new day, and you just kind of, it's the firefighter in me to just kind of like roll with the punches and just say, you know what? There are things that are in my control, and there are things that are outside of my control. Things outside of my control, I'm not going to worry about you. I'm not going to worry. Things in my control, I'm going to balance my time, protect what means the most to me, and then anything that tries to interrupt that, I'm going to try to avoid. So, balance.
Whoa. That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, tell me what your businesses are. Like you have a couple of different hats. Well, I swear every time I see something I'm like, "Wait a minute, he's also buying that?" Like what's happening? So tell me at least what you already have, what you have built, what's like part of, your everyday stuff.
Yeah, so I had this like really wild goal um, years and years ago to get into real estate investing. Like all of us, like we have this wild goal, and you kind of learn ins and outs of it. You learn what you like and what you don't like with anything, and you don't know it until you actually start going down that path. Like you could say, "Hey, I want to be a doctor." Oh, by the way, I wanted to be a doctor. I I started going to school to be a doctor. I hate it. I don't want to be a doctor. Like literally the most grueling schooling ever, and I hate it. Same thing with real estate investing. Like you go down that path, and you may say, "I love long-term rentals," but you get into it, you hate it. And if you try
Hmm.
something different, like, "Oh, let me try short-term rentals." Okay, I like aspects, but I hate other aspects. Okay, maybe try commercial. Anyway, you just don't know until you try. So with me, about 8 years ago, I said I want to be a real estate investor. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what the pieces are that go into it. And unbeknownst to me, I did not know there were multiple asset classes within real estate, like the things you
Yeah.
learn like after you get into it. So bought a single family home and lived in it, and then rented it out right after because I wanted to learn what it's like to be a landlord. I found out that um, without any research, I found a really good area to have a long term rental. Fell into it, full luck. Like it was not calculated. I just said, I want to try it, and it could have failed miserably. But it happened to be like, and still is, one of the most successful like investments that we've made because we've had tenants like in it for the entire time. But the biggest thing I learned from that was how to vet a tenant, how to market a property, how to go through local state regulation, uh, how to handle maintenance requests, how to handle payments, and like thankful there's a ton of automation out there. Like there's a ton of like systems that are almost a one-stop shop for a lot of things, but like I didn't know they existed at the time, and I only found out about them like through going down that path. A couple years later, said short-term rentals sound kind of sexy. I want to do something there because I love hospitality, but hotels are scary. Stay away, hotels. Like don't I don't want anything to do with you, hotels. And this was like 5 years ago. And went into short term rentals and found out that I said, you know what, I want to make this really easy and almost as passive as I can make it. Let me hire a property manager. Okay, you're taking 50% of my fees? Okay, let me hire another property manager. Oh, you're telling me 20% on the surface and then there's 25% under the surface that I didn't know about. Got it. Oh, let me try it on my own. And it was the most successful thing, like turning it into like me self-managing an Airbnb and scaling that up. And then, so anyway, different real estate businesses there. That eventually morphed into want to launch a hotel, which we're developing a ground up hotel. It's a boutique luxury like wellness resort in Northern Virginia. Going to break ground this year, which is really cool. It's been a 2 year cycle to get to this point. And then under contract on a upscale coastal bed and breakfast in Maryland as well, where we're going to do some renovations and turn it into from a okay performing business to something that is just hyper unique and what the area needs. And I've also gotten into multifamily mixed use commercial along the way, and I found out I hate multifamily and I hate portions of mixed use commercial. So those things will go out of my life, and I don't think I'll go back to it. So anyway, the real estate business, that's a long way of saying like there's a whole like acquisition side of our real estate business that we have. There's
Mhm.
a lending arm that we do investor lending from like a hard money lending perspective on 5 units or less for non-owner occupied units. There's a property management arm that we have that we do short-term rental co-hosting. For the long-term rentals that we have, we handle that in-house. And then hospitality will be included in that property management element too. And then finally, we have a development company, which we had to stand up because we're doing a ground up development build. So that's project management, permitting, zoning analysis, vetting, all of that fun stuff end to end for development project life cycle. So like those are our anchor businesses. And I always had a dream to develop a vertically integrated business line. And we're almost there. Like we almost have it all. And it's super, super cool. It's a ton of work. And this year, the last thing I'll say is my priority this year is to build out the people element to it because, like, quite literally, that was the piece that I knew I needed, but I didn't know what I needed. And now I have that clarity going into 2025 of this is who I need and what I need to be able to get the businesses to be more successful than they are. I can't do it all, man. So
Yeah, you just talked about a lot of businesses, like a really lot. And that's what I think, I really do think real estate is. It's a lot of businesses. And whether you want to wear the hats or not, like if you decide to start one, you now are like, oh, now I'm a leasing agent. Neato. What's a leasing agent? You're going on to Google. I worked at a commercial real estate company for a long time, and it is baffling at how many asset classes there are. Like, I mean, there's so many different things. And that's one of I find this to be the best thing about real estate is there are so many different ways to make money in real estate. You can be, I mean, you can be a servicer of real estate. You can actually buy the real estate. You can fund the real estate. You can manage the real estate. Like there's different ways. And then once you get a property, that's the other thing that I love is me and you could buy the same property and we would do something completely different with it. Like whether that's flipping, whether that's wholesaling it, whether that's turning it into a short-term rental, long-term rental, how we would theme it, like literally top to bottom. There's just so many options. So I love that you talked about that because there's a lot of diversity in real estate's such a big thing. It's just
it,
so many things.
it's crazy because you just highlighted something that I also found out I didn't like along the way, which is hilarious. Like I said, wow, wholesaling. It looks like I could make
Yeah.
some killer bucks off of something like. And then I tried it. I tried it for 2 months. I did a 60-day wholesaling challenge that I set myself up on. I said, calling 10 people a day. Um, I made it like 3 weeks. Like I
Yeah.
was like, this is oh, like
It's a marketing company.
oh,
You like that's a lot of marketing. It's cold calls, it's sales. Like it's really just a sales and marketing
oh,
company. Like wholesaling's hard.
hated it. It was literally like I one of the first calls that I made. I'll never forget. It's maybe inappropriate to like do an invitation or do it. Uh, and the person picked up and said, "Hello," like that, and I'm like, "What? Do you have water for me?" And like said it in like and I'm like, Thanks, Andrew. I'm just calling because I saw you have a lot of equity in your property you want to sell. Who is Andrew? Like, and I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm taking advantage of somebody that just doesn't know their name, doesn't know where they are. I felt like such a bad person calling them up. That was one of my first calls I made, and there were other stories that were similar like that. And I'm like, I don't know how people do this. Like, I,
Yeah. Wholesaling is actually one that I was like, yeah, I don't want to wholesale either. I've wholesaled a handful of houses and, we made a little bit of money on them. I didn't try to slay or anything. And I think, I didn't ever want to put the effort into it. I never wanted, I'm like, this isn't for me. But once I found short-term rentals, it felt so natural and so good that I'm like, yep, this is the place for me. Like the people that wholesale, they're really good at it. Like I know some really good salespeople, really good marketing, and they really do help people. Like I've watched it happen where, hey, this person is going to jail for 2 years and he's not gonna be able to pay his mortgage. So either that house is getting foreclosed on and he'll deal with it when he gets out, or someone has to buy it really, really fast. Or, like somebody's in the hospital or somebody passed away. Like there's a really, I mean, they really do help people and they also, can be snaky. So that's also a side of real estate is like, you get the whole gamut. There's amazing people and then not so great ones that make us all look great.
yeah, seriously though, like you're so spot on. And you know what's really funny is like the real estate asset classes that I'm really, really good at. I ended up like going into other asset classes to experiment and everything, and it's like
Mhm.
I was told a lot. Like, why are you doing it? You are so good with short-term rentals. You are so good with like hospitality and service. You are so good with um, commercial rentals. Like, why are you going down this route of like trying to do a fix and flip? Like you did fix and flips the last like 8 months. Like they're like people are like, why? Why are you putting yourself through that? I'm like, you know what? I tried it. I don't like it. I'll never do it again. But at least I tried. I know what it was like if I didn't try. I learned a ton along the way. Um,
I know.
but it, with anything, like if you surround yourself with people that just get people that you,
Yeah, completely agree. Hence why I met you in a mastermind to talk about, boutique hotels. Like you don't have to know all the things. That's the beauty of life. It's like I don't have to know how to, lease, a commercial building, but I know all kinds of people who lease commercial buildings. I would just go to them.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like when you build your community of people around you, like you just you go to them to bounce off ideas. You go to them to just confide and like de-stress. You go to them like when you're tough. You don't like when you, somebody owes you something, like
Hmm.
it's just and that's what's opened up. It's like especially the last 6 months is like if you surround yourself with the right people, not only do you go faster, but like people are more willing to connect you with other people. Like I don't know, like it's just a wild, wild web of a world that we live in.
Hmm.
We don't know. Like here's an example. Like I didn't know that one of my like W-2 connections, like his grandpa it is like the owner operator star like resort in Turks and Caicos. Like I'm like what? And
Huh?
he follows me on Instagram. He sees me post stuff, and then like, we work together. And he's like, hey, Lenny, like, you know this about me? I'm like, how would I ever know?
No.
Just like just posing a question to you. And number two, I'm like, tell me more. Like, can I meet your grandpa who runs this resort? Like, can I hear more about his experience? He's been for like 50 years. Like, just
Yeah.
like it's just like, and it's gorgeous. But and then he's like, well, can I invest in like a project you have coming up? And I'm like,
Yes. Yes, you can.
yes, you absolutely can. Like, when you get to that point where it's just a wild, just a,
Yeah, well, until you start talking about it. And I think that's something I do want to ask you about. But I also wanted to say when I was I grew up in a super small town. Like I graduated with 50 people. So a really small town, a couple of thousand. Yeah. So small town enough. I started doing real estate. I talk about it a lot on the internet. And I grew up in a small town. A lot of people are friends with me on the internet. And now I go home and the kinds of conversations I get to have because nobody else knows that all these people own real estate. They own rentals. They have rentals all over the state. They have rentals all over the country. And I didn't know because in small towns, I mean, I'm making a blanket statement, but a lot of people don't talk about certain things because then there's a weird perception of, oh, like, I mean, people think I'm rich and I'm like, no, but I have some loans on houses and then I make the houses make me money. Like, that's my strategy. So I'm not rich. So I'm making a blanket statement that I think a lot of people keep certain things to themselves. And it doesn't mean like their friends, their close friends don't know. It's just like, why would they tell someone like me until they find out that I have the things? And now I'm like, I know tons of people that have short term rentals from where I grew up that I'm like, you do? Like, you never talk about it. So I think the things that come out when you get to be open and honest about what you're doing. And one of my buddies used to talk about it being like your like your hero thing or like what's your secret, it's kind of like your secret superpowers or something, that because nobody knows about it, so it is a secret even though you're not necessarily keeping it a secret. But if you don't talk about it, people don't know that there's a place to invest, that they could connect you with their grandpa who has done this for 50 years, like if you don't talk about it. But now I want you to talk about, because I mean one of the reasons we connected is I saw you start posting about like you had like 400 followers or 500, whatever, however many, and you grew it quite a bit because you started talking about it. So you want a quick touch on that?
Yeah, you know, holy cow. So, never in my wildest dreams did I think posting on social media would gain any sort of traction. But I think what's been interesting is that it's a grind to,
Hmm.
to to get out there, put yourself out there, talk about things. To the point that I'm actually on a 1 week social media detox from posting because I've been doing it since June, maybe a little bit earlier, and I'm like, I need a break. Even though like I automate a lot of things, like I'm still posting a lot on my stories, which that's not something you can automate. So I'm
Mm-mm.
taking a little bit of a break, resetting, and stuff. But to get to go from like 500, 600 followers to like over 8,000 now, in a span of 6.5, 7 months. It took posting multiple times a week, engaging with people in their DMs and comments on their posts. It took just a lot of work, and that's the thing that like I think sometimes people may not see. Like there's some pretty big influencers out there, and they're big influencers because they pay a ton of people to probably DM people, comment on posts
Hmm.
and everything, and boost their following, and they're probably known in the media and like in their industry and stuff like that. But when you're a no name right now, like me, like it just takes a lot of work to to get out there. And honestly, out of those followers, like it's a metric, but I always like to say it's a vanity metric because I don't know how many are legit. I don't know how many are actually interested in things, but I can tell you a couple of things. I have had some success stories in social media, um, and I'll tell you a couple of them. From posting online, I had not only the person I work with reach out about his grandpa like owning a really nice hotel. I had somebody reach out to me about a sale of a hotel that I actually looked at and I was interested in acquiring, but then I put it on the back burner because I was like, the finances don't work. And it was the daughter of the seller who gave me this whole story and said, please buy the hotel. Like found me on Instagram, just found me randomly on Instagram. And I'm actually looking to buy the hotel now because she reached out. And I put that on the back burner like 5 months ago. And then she reached out in December and kind of going down the path of doing some research and diligence and stuff like that. And then third immediate thing that comes to my head is that my wife's best friend, uh, obviously like She follows me on Instagram, and she happens to be an interior designer who specializes in hotels.
Cool.
Uh, Blown away.
Helpful.
Lives in San Diego. Studied architecture and design. Has worked on like Marriott, like flagship brand hotels, and like now has her own company. And I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like it's just it's wild. Like when you start going down this path of putting yourself out there, how the universe and the energy around like what you're putting out there, like just kind of comes back to you. So I'm taking a
Mhm.
week to reset though because I'm like I gotta think through like who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to put out there? And honestly, I'm thinking about all this and I'm like I'm probably overthinking it. Who cares? Just be myself. You know, like just keep doing what you're doing. You know, just keep going. So anyway, um, that's a long way of
No,
answering your question. So,
no, those are super cool effects that, I mean, I think being honest about it being a grind is really important because you put in, you know, you have to put in effort to get the, you know, results. It doesn't just like randomly happen. And even when people do, like we've had a couple of things hit really big reels, but nothing came of it. It didn't matter. We didn't get more downloads because of it. We didn't get, you know, I mean, 5 followers. Like, was that, you know, like, so it's just, it's the consistent effort. I think that's really important to point out. And then the fact that you've gotten other things from it that you can kind of tie out that it's like I said, I go home now and people talk to me about short-term rentals because they know that I babble about them all the time on the damn internet. And it means it opens up conversations that you wouldn't have otherwise had. I wouldn't have even some of these people I wouldn't even talk to. Like they wouldn't approach me in the bar when I'm sitting next to my parents while they're having a beer, any of that stuff. Like we wouldn't have a conversation, but instead somebody beelines to be like, "Oh my god, I want to tell you about my short-term rental experience and how do you do this and how do you do that?" Because I've thought through a lot of things. Like I talk about it, I've coached people on it. So now when they see me, they, you know, they want real like inside, you know, info, which is pretty cool.
it's wild to me. Like I think it's probably using the words like wrong what I'm about to say, but it's almost like delayed gratification, but for it's delayed like praise for like the work you're doing. Like you may only see 5 downloads, like 5 more downloads or 5 more followers today, but those 5 people, like if they like they're watching it and they're listening and everything, like you just never know during the course of conversations with other people that those 5 people have how it'll spark in their head that you need to get in touch with Tanya. Like it's just
Yeah, because
it's
that
just
could
so
happen
wild.
2 years later. I mean,
Yeah,
like just the stuff that you have. Like this lady starts talking to you, or the guy that offered money. It's like, I mean, he's been following you for a longer period of time, probably, which is super cool. And then you're not even ready yet, but you're just gonna be like, I would love to talk to you as soon as I'm ready.
yeah. It's just it's so wild, and I never in my wildest dreams thought that like I'd be in a spot like that.
Uh-huh.
It's just wild. But here we are.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like I like getting to watch people's journeys like that too, that it's like this is crazy. Like you just never know what conversation you're going to have that's going to do that. Which reminds me, I want to ask you. So, if you probably have some friends and mentors or maybe some advisors in your life, can you tell me about a random story where you met them and now like either like a business partner or they funded something or they connected you with somebody besides like the coworker situation?
It I've been more and more of a believer the last like year and a half that the universe has a really weird way of working things out. Like we got connected through Blake's mastermind, and here we are talking today. And in a year, you may be like, "I'm trying to buy a dozen short-term rentals in this geography. You
Mm-hmm.
wanna partner or do something over here?" Like there may be something else. You just never know. And
Mm-hmm.
here's my wild story. So 2 years ago, with this ground up like luxury boutique like wellness resort, I had this idea that I wanted to get into hospitality. I didn't know how. I didn't know what. I just said, "This is where I want to be. This is generally what I want to do. Let me kind of like start going down that path." And I met the architect designer that I have. And we're talking, and like they're like, "Wow, cool vision! Like we have ties in hospitality. We have our own like ranch that we have out west. That's like the number one dude ranch in the area. Like talking about it, I'm like, wow, that's wild. Fast forward probably about a year, so this was about a year ago. Um, I I had this idea for an icon on the property, and the designer architect, without knowing my background and without knowing what was in my head, mentioned it. He just mentioned it, and I'm like, what?
What?
Like, and not only that. So going down this path, we do all this site design planning and everything, and I get into Blake's mastermind. And a month later, less than a month later, somebody in Blake's mastermind pinged me and said, I love your vision. Do you need help, like with like executing on that?" And I said, yes. Like I
Yeah,
just been
of
thinking
course.
about how am I going to do this, and there have been other like instances like through like this hotel project that people just show up at the right time for the right things and say the right things and like guide in the right way. And the energy behind the project is something I can't describe. And it seems like the people that get brought into it feel that energy, and then it just keeps like multiplying. So anyway, I say all of that because you just never know who will
Uh-huh.
come into your life and how they will actually impact your life for the better. And I think like the biggest thing I've learned the last year is just let it happen. Don't
Yeah.
don't put your hand up. Don't say no, not now. Just go with it. Like if
Uh-huh.
the energy is pushing you forward, why are you going to slam on the brakes? It doesn't make sense. So let the car travel faster if it intends to travel faster, and if it slows down, bring in the people that sped you up to begin with. Have a conversation and see if it speeds back up. So just never know.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome because you also put the effort in though to like be out there though. Like I think that's one thing about you that I've noticed is you show up in rooms to even have the conversation because the universe does. I completely agree with you. All of this stuff that I'm like, yep, they put these random people in your life to do these things, but you also have to kind of like meet said universe out there. It's like you got to show up to things. You have to put in the effort that you're like, I'm going out here. I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but you just being the person that you are and kind of doing the networking and just showing up, that's what's bringing the people around. Because if you were sitting on your couch just, like I don't know, eating zebra cakes and watching TV, they probably wouldn't show up.
I want a zebra cake, by the way, and I want to sit on the couch, watch TV. Actually, to be fully transparent, I can't sit still. Probably not a surprise because you follow me on social media, but like literally the hardest thing I've had to do the last week is slow down. And anyway, but I appreciate that. I think yes, showing up is one thing for sure. Like, just got to be on your A game, but you also have to be like human at the end of the day. Like, you're not always going to be on your A game. You're going to have days that you're just like, ugh, I have my fair share of those days week in and week out. And then
Hmm.
I'm told by my wife, get your head out of your ass. Like just pick yourself up. I'm told by business partners, hey, your mindset sucks. It's like, get that out of your head. Everything's going to
Uh-huh.
be okay. Like, I'm told by people around me, like, not what I want to hear because that pisses me off sometimes. Like, I don't want to be
Hmm.
told that. And then I'm like, wait a second. Like, you're right. Like, I'm bringing myself down for no reason. Like, so anyway, you just, everybody gets in ruts. You can show up every day, but you can still be in a rut once in a while. And that's just called life. Like, it's
Hmm.
just the reality of things. And that's also the other thing I've learned over the years is like we're all human. We all are. Like, and it's okay not to be okay. As cliche as that is, like it is okay. Like that just means you are breathing, you are living, you are just human. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
No, I love that. And actually, you just like saying that stuff just made me pull out the fact that why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people because you could do exactly what you're talking about, is like kind of just have like some off weeks or even months. And if you don't have the right person to tell you to pull your head out of your ass, or tell you that your mindset's really kind of lagging and you need some work on that, or someone standing there to call you out on it, then it doesn't mean the people around you are bad people. They're just, if you want to accomplish something, you need the right people around you to accomplish that thing. Because your friends can always be encouraging, be there for you, listen, blah, 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 blah. But it's the people that really say, like, hey, that's not fucking true. You should probably, check that at the door, or maybe you should like try a little harder instead of, like having all these excuses or whatever that may be. It just feels like that's why it's so important to choose those people wisely, because I have tons of support, but whether or not they'll call me out, completely different story. Like, what I put out there, and if they'll call you out on it, nope, not everybody.
I'll tell you something funny. One of my best friends, he's a very successful real estate investor. Like he has like 200 homes. Like his family had a business before, and then he built his portfolio over the last decade, which is incredible. Like numbers like that just blow me away. Like that doesn't just come overnight unless you inherit
Mm-hmm.
all this money, and he didn't. But I was talking to him probably a month or two ago, and I'm like, hey, like I have this multifamily sale coming up. Like here's my list price, and he's like, you're so far off. You will never get that number. And I'm like, okay. So we listed our property like that we're trying to sell a week ago on the market, and I listed it for like substantially less than what I wanted. And we still haven't gotten bites. Like so, like I'm sitting here going like he told me what I didn't want to hear. I ignored what he said, and here we are. Whose fault is
Yep.
that? Whose fault is that at the end of the day? Like
Just yours.
so, yeah. I mean, and that's also about learning, growing, and real estate investing. Like sometimes you just got to get out of your own way and come to terms with reality because data doesn't lie. Like so,
Yeah.
I mean, it can lie, but mostly like it's pretty accurate. And like so, anyway, I just say like when you surround yourself with those people that tell you something like you can't take what everybody says for face value for sure. Like, but if multiple people are saying the same thing, then you may want to pay attention and get your head out of your ass. So um, that's just like some of the tough love that I've had. So
Yeah, no, well, I think it's the most important kind of love, like if you don't have it, it's like then you just live in a comfort zone, which is not going to do the things. Like if you want to do big things, if you just want to hang out and not do anything, it's completely fine. Like everybody gets to live their life. But if you really do want to build something worth building and worth talking about and worth selling or giving to your family or whatever the heck you want to do, whatever your legacy plans are, like you have to have the right people around you. You got to be surrounded by other CEOs that know like their shit and that can call you out on your BS. And yeah, it's freaking awesome. I
well, I
love
wasn't
it.
going to share this, but I'm going to now. And because I always think like it's boastful sharing like certain things, but we talked about putting yourself out there. I'll never forget. I had a 1.6 GPA and almost failed out of college. And I was told like for the first like 7.5 to 10 years, like, hey, you're a failure. You suck. Um, and then like this year, like our real estate portfolio with the acquisitions we have in the pipeline with the development project, we're hitting almost $100 million in real estate owned. Almost a
That's
hundred,
crazy.
like almost $100 million, and I'm like, I can't even fathom. Now that's not all going in Andrew's pocket. Like, there's no way.
No,
Like,
of course not.
that's just acquisition. Like, and there's a lot of work there. But when you say like being uncomfortable and everything, like that makes me so incredibly uncomfortable. Like all of this makes me so uncomfortable. The personal liability, the expenses, the
Mhm.
numbers around doing something that big. But I'm constantly reminded 2x is the same as 10x. Like there's a
Mhm.
book out there. I haven't read it, but it
And it's true. It's true.
it's just like if you're going to go 2x, like you can go 10x with the same amount of energy. Sure, numbers will look different, and like you'll need a different
Mhm.
type of team maybe, but it's like the same energy at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Wow.
different conversation or different people that are going to get you there. Like, that's probably a different banker. If you think 100 million and now you want to text 10x it, that would be, I think, a billion or something. I don't know. I'm not great at math, so
Well, it's definitely a different like group
yeah.
of people that you have to like kind of like
Hmm.
interact with, and a different like
Yeah.
mindset and everything that you have to have. Like you have to be
Yeah.
confident in your
But same,
decision.
still people, same thing. Still banking, same thing. Like it's just, yeah, that, and it is crazy to think, but I mean, it's just another damn comma. And the more that you can get in line with that, the more you can be like, oh yeah, and oh my God, how much more fun? Okay. This is like a small tangent. How much more fun would it be? Like I've got a short-term rental business. I pay people, ten to $30,000 a year because it's really based on like what I need from them to actually do. So let's just say my best cleaner makes 30 grand or something, and she's also cleaning other properties. But let's just say she makes 30 grand. Can you imagine if it would be so fun for me to be able to pay five cleaners $50,000 each. Like that sounds fun. So like when you think of 10xing something, I think of the like I would rather pay somebody $60,000 to do that job that right now I can only pay them 15,000 because it's not enough volume. Because it just sounds like so much like I love the idea of getting to be like here like assistant just have the whole job and just let me know what else you need and then keep going. So like you do think about the 10x. I would much prefer to get to pay people a heck more money because there's so much more coming in.
Well, and this is what's wild, and when you surround yourself with the right people, though, I was told yesterday because I was texting a mentor, and I said, without you, I don't think I would have 10x like this and this, and I think I've gotten 10x the value. And the response was, I am so disappointed in myself. I wanted you to do 20x.
I love people like that.
Oh my gosh, like, okay, let's go. Like, fire has lived beneath my feet. And then I battle in my head, like, this is for another conversation, another time. But, like, when do you stop? Right?
Mhm.
Like when is enough enough? That's a difficult question. Like, for
It
me, I
sure
enjoy
is.
building. I love building. I love having really strong relationships with people, treating people really well, and then building businesses. Like, I enjoy that. So,
Hmm.
when do I stop? Like, do I stop after this year and just say I'm going to let it ride? Because, I mean, like, why do anything else? Or do we keep going down a path and we set a target? I don't know. Like, it's just wild.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think of it as seasons of life, and I've read enough books in business. Like I've been doing business stuff for 6 or 7 years, and I've read enough books that I really, really think there's seasons of everything. Like I don't know if you have a young family. I know you at least have a wife, but you think about the seasons. It's like there's a building season, and then there's a let's let this ride because I don't know. I really want to be their soccer coach or something. Like I don't have any children, so I'm just guessing things. But still, like those are the seasons of life is like, let's give them more time because once they hit 14, they're like, I don't really want to hang out with you. Like I've got friends that have 14, 15, 16, 17 year olds right now and they're like, yeah, my kid wants nothing to do with me at the moment, so let's go hang out. But when they're really young, like you have a lot more, time with them. And I feel like that's what a lot of people's journeys are. My personal journey is like about my nieces and nephews and my godkids and how do I get to spend time with them and like how can I be engaged with that, but also what does that look like for my marriage because we never intend to have children. So it's just building around these travel plans and what we want to build. And I think about the same thing and not necessarily as much of like when is enough because I'm kind of lazy with business stuff sometimes that I'm just like, oh, cool, I get to do whatever. But I think choosing what that looks like and then also knowing you get to sell. Like I know lots of stories of people who it's like, they run hard for 5 or 6 years and then they sell the business or they have like they literally IPO it or whatever and make a ton of money, take 6 months off maybe, and then they're doing it again because that's just the chase. The likelihood is you're a chaser, you're always going to chase it, but it's just fitting, how does it fit into your life and how much of it do you have to do. And eventually you're going to be a crappy CEO of 10 companies, like as in because it's too many companies, so eventually you'll have to take yourself out and then it's deciding, do I sell that Do I put somebody else in play? Like, do I literally put together a C-suite of people that are doing this? And those are just decisions. That's the fun part that you get to make. Like, you get to make those decisions because you've built something cool enough and good enough that people want to follow, that it still has enough momentum that people want to join in, you know? It's kind of cool.
So true and so much to think about. Like so many. So like I'm sitting here going, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's wild. I mean, yeah, we have a young family, so like right now, like a 2.5 year old and a 6 month old. So like
Oh
in my
yeah.
head, I'm like, I'm building at a time that like I think most people wouldn't be. Like it's kind of a,
Mm.
so I'm kind of going against the grain a little bit. Whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know. But like the motivation is what's right, I think, and I just got to stick with that. But
Mhm.
it's interesting. Like you're right, 14 years old, stay away.
They're gonna be like, nah, Dad, I don't want to hang with you.
Yeah, you were cool, but now you're so
No, not at all.
have a good day, and you know maybe the
Can I have
time.
some money?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can I have some money from Starbucks, please? And I'm gonna be
Yeah,
like,
that
no.
2-year old doesn't ask for you for money quite yet.
Well, you'd be surprised actually. Like
Not in the same way, hopefully.
well, she's around her father, which is really funny. So like she knows already like to get her play credit card and be like, look what I got. And I'm like, okay, you're 2.5, like you should not know what that is. And then she's like, I got money. And she goes to her like little purse and pulls out like $1, and I'm like, wow, that
Mhm.
is incredible. I wish I had that much money because I don't. So no, it's cool, but this is
No,
fun.
you know what? But you know what, Andrew? Also to just like to think of, because I know a lot of people who build, honestly, where you're at. Like like it's a ton of people that are like, well, I'm gonna build right now because when they're 6, then I'm gonna have some time. But it's just being really aware of what that looks like, and then also knowing because they're seeing that, but then fast forwarding to there's a certain point where it's like, okay, I have to take some stuff because no matter what, you have to trade things. Like every time you put something new on your plate, you have to trade something. Like you don't get a choice because you can't, there's not enough hours in the day for you to trade the thing. So it's then saying, oh, I finally have to quit my job. I cannot work this job anymore. My W-2 has to go because I can't keep building without this. And then realizing later on, there's going to be a certain point where you're just like, okay, I would trade any amount of money in the world to rewind to this spot that I'm at today with my kids being this age and whatever that is. So just thinking, like continuing to think about stuff like that and like testing the way that you're spending your time is like, oh yeah, this is totally worth it. And because, they'll only have 1 week of being a brand newborn, like, and so you're just picking little moments in time and being like, cool, let's hang out now. And then just trying to make sure that there's family time.
It took me 2.5 years to realize. I mean, going into this year, my number one priority on my list. I try to read my goals, like my future self, like affirmations, like every day. I do better some days than others. It hasn't been very
Hmm.
consistent, but I've been doing it. And that's just the reality of life, right? But like one of the things I have on there is your phone will be on do not disturb mode more this year than it's ever been.
Hmm.
And that's so hard. Like
Hmm.
I think I've been 50% successful, and I'm like, well, that's 50% more successful than I was last year. So is that okay? No, I want to strive for as close to 100 as
You're
I can. So
you love excellence.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, no, that is not good. That's a low bar. What are you doing? So anyway, long story short, it's you're right. Like time is the currency that you don't get back. So
Nope, never.
um,
Hmm.
that's something that has really hit home. Well, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's why.
And what I mean, as you build, you figure it all out, like it's just building a little bit and then being like, okay, this is like you'll just get to a breaking points. This is what business is like, where's your breaking point? And the breaking point sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean it's like sell, it's quit, it's any of that. It's oh cool, I have to hire. I do not have a choice. I like cannot I mean, is this one less thing that I have going into my savings account or one less chunk of money because you're just like, nope, I'm going to hire somebody to do this and I'm willing to pay $40,000 so that I can be home every day, no matter what, from 6 to 8 o'clock to play with the kids and have dinner and, talk to my wife or like whatever that construct is like, yep, that's totally worth it. Cause that's what fucking millionaires do. That's what billionaires do. Like, they're like, here, I mean, they love building. That doesn't go away, but it's like, no, I want to build this thing more, and building can still be, building your little humans into better humans for people to deal with later.
So true. You're so, it's wild. Yeah, amazing.
It's fun. It's fun though. Business is super freaking fun. It's just like this is good stuff. So sorry I digress into this coaching thing that I love to do that I'm just like, oh, I have feedback. So, I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions before we wrap up, okay? All right. Tell me, is there something you've been lazy at in your business? Like, what's a piece of your business that you're just like, God, I really hate that?
Um, I think I've been lazy with it, 'cause I don't know. I think I've been lazy with like spectrum a little bit, like the one aspect of the business. Been lazy with those are probably the two main things.
That's cool.
Yeah, that that's an interesting question. That's actually the one that stumps me. Um, I think those are the two aspects, though, hiring and because hiring leads to delegation, and if I don't have people, I can't delegate. So I think that's a lazy factor and ignorant factor.
Ah.
I mean, um, yeah,
Oh, that's cool. That's it's an interesting question I've started to ask people because I know the areas I'm lazy at that I'm just like, nope, I'll put that off. Thank you very much. So yeah. And then last thing is, what's the best advice someone has given you that you've actually used?
um, I've been told so many times that you won't be ready. You just won't be ready. You won't be 100% ready to do something. Like, and if you are, you've waited too long. So for me, like, I'm okay with being 25% ready. I'm okay with being 10% ready. Like, for me, like, just taking action has been like the biggest learning opportunity. And if I fail, at least I tried. And like when you're faced with like different options and everything, like you just figure it out. Like there's always a exit path. There's always another path, and like you just figure it out. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like you're not 100% ready for everything, and you never will be. So don't sit around waiting for 100%.
Yeah, I really like that. The like if you are ready, you waited too long. That's brilliant and beautiful and a perfect way to like finish up here. Is there anything you're looking for right now that like if somebody listens and is like, oh my God, I have a person for that or I have a building for that, anything off the top of your head?
Just connect with me. Just say hi. Like if you're out there and you listen and you're like, okay, well, you sound a little bit interesting. Shoot me a connection request on Instagram and then shoot me a DM and say, hey, I listened to you, and that's it. Like that's all I ask.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. And then where can people find you? Where's the easiest place for them to find you?
Instagram, Instagram. So that's my platform of choice. Like some people go all out and like go on a whole bunch of different platforms. Me, it's like Instagram. I like it the best. So yeah, hit me up on there.
Okay, and his handle is Andrew Owlett. Owlett is his last name. I'm gonna put it in show notes though as well. So definitely hit him up. Thank you, Andrew. This was super fun. Like I got to learn some more things about you. I had held off on having a big long conversation with you because I'm like, I'm gonna just find out more on the podcast. So this has been super delightful. I'm really excited to see what 2025 does for you. And yeah, just thanks for the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and let's crush it.
Yes, 2025. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All